Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome to Movie Goodness here on the KB Radio Network. This is where we examine life through cinema, and for our part 3 of the 2025 Halloween special, I decided to do something a little different, a little crazy, a little kooky, and we're going to dive into the world of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, a film that is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. 50 years of a cult classic, which is probably the first cult classic of all time. If I don't know of any other film before this that became a cult classic like it is still to this day. I have a confession to make. And I know this is going to be blasphemous for a lot of you listening out there. I have never sat down and watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show from beginning to end. Not one time in my life until this past weekend. I know, I, I know a lot of people are standing around their phones, their TVs, their computers, and are just chins are dropped to the floor. Can't believe that. How can you be this a movie lover and never have experienced the classic of the Rocky Horror Picture Show? A good question. Fair question, I might add. But the reason is, this wasn't my demographic. I never had any inkling in my soul, spirit, mind, heart, body to watch this movie. I don't know why. I've seen bits and pieces of it throughout my life, being as though I'm almost 50, which it makes me shiver when I say that, but I've never actually sat down under my own volition and watched the opening credits to the end credits in one sitting. Like I said, saw clips, of course. How could you not? You know, Tim Curry is in this movie. Susan Sarandon is in this movie. I've seen clips of them, and I'm a big fan of them. Even Barry Bostwick, I'm a big fan of it. It's just that this movie didn't appeal to me, and it wasn't the movie in its I guess story or nothing like that. At one point in my life, I did not watch musicals. I hated musicals for a majority of my life. It wasn't until I got into my 20s, mid 20s, when I actually sat down and watched a musical. And the first one that I actually sat down and watched was Moulin Rouge. And it just touched me in a in a weird way. And pause. But it did. It's something about that movie that just clicked in, and I just started loving musicals, and I started watching musicals and appreciating musicals for what they are. And so, growing up, I never gravitated to this movie. Plus, I'm like, man, you can't have a horror movie and have it be a musical at the same time. The two just didn't go together to me. It just logically didn't make sense. Now, is the Rocky Horror Picture Show a true horror film? Not really, but at its core, it's a throwback B-level horror movie from like the 50s. That's what it's paying homage to, is that level of film. And if you appreciate those movies, you appreciate the Rocky Horror Picture Show. What we're going to talk about today, along with a review of the film, like I said, I watched it. I finally watched it. It took 50 years, but I finally sat down and watched it. And so we're going to do a review, but that's on the back half. But in the first half, I want to talk about this cult following that this film has, and the impact that this film has on so many people's lives and the LGBT community and so on and so forth, and cultural influence that this film has. And it's an important film for a lot of people. And with all that being said, I know there is a vast majority of people who don't agree with the themes of this movie. I'm not naive, but I'm not one of them people. So I'm all for, you know, whatever the themes are. As long as it's a good movie, I'm here for it. Well, this movie is based off of a play, first and foremost. It's based on a 1973 Broadway musical with the music and the lyrics and a book by Richard O'Brien, and it's a hilarious tribute to B movies and science fiction and horror films from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And the musical tells the story of a newly engaged couple that's caught in a storm, and they come into the home of this mad transvestite scientist named Dr. Frank-N-Furter. Say that 3 times fast. And he unveils his new creation, Rocky, which is this kind of ripoff of Frankenstein monster. And it's not Frankenstein's monster. It's this well put together man. I mean, just glistening with his bulging abs and muscles and whatnot. Yeah, he's a full grown, physically perfect muscle man, and this is what he puts together. And we'll go over the story more when we go over the review, but that's what this play was all about. So the good folks at 20th Century Fox at the time, now it's 20th Century Studios, owned by Disney, but they decided to turn it into a full-length feature film in 1975, and that's where we got the version of this story that has gone on to capture the hearts and minds of millions and millions of people over 50 years. Let me tell you a story. Growing up, a friend of mine, he this is how I got introduced to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I never watched it. Like I said, never wanted to watch it. And he was into going to the midnight screenings of the film, dressing up and all this other stuff. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that this was a thing, because when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, midnight showings wasn't a thing, we never heard about it. And he was talking about it. He had told me what he does on Friday or Saturday night. I can't remember which one it was, but he went to it, and it was religiously he went to it. It wasn't like a one time every now and then thing. He went to it all the time. And so he was telling me about it, and I was like, really? He was like, yeah, we dress up and we sing the songs, we yell at the screen, and you have people who are cosplaying and they're on the stage and performing out scenes while the scene is playing on the big screen and behind them and all this. And I'm like, why? Because I'm such a purist when it comes to theater, going to the movie theater to see. I want complete quiet. I want to be just immersed in what's playing on the screen. That would drive me crazy. That would drive me insane because I want to watch what's on the screen. I don't want to see a play. If I wanted to see a play, I'll go see a play, and especially with the rest of the audience. So at this time, I'm like, this is dumb. Why would you do that? Why would you pay money to go do this? I didn't understand it. And once again, I didn't know what the movie was about. And, as I got older and really started finding out what the movie really was and what it was about, I've started to wonder, like, wait, wait, you like going to this? So I asked him one day, what do you dress? What character do you dress up as? He was like, oh, one time I went as Riff Raff. I'm like, okay, I can see that. And then he's like, yeah. And then another time, I went a couple of times as Dr. Frank-N-Furter. I'm like, what? wait, what? You do? It just blew my mind. Now, I never was a homophobe like that, where I was disgusted by all that stuff. Still not. And so that doesn't bother me. So that wasn't the reason why I was kind of caught off guard by it, but it was just him. I didn't expect him to be be dressing up as a transvestite. But hey, it would have been interesting to see. But he did invite me a couple of times. I just couldn't bring myself to go. Plus, I'm a I'm a homebody. I don't like to stay out that late. I went to go see a midnight showing of Spider-Man 3 the night it premiered. That's before they premiered on Thursday evening, as they do now. Back in the day, and not too long ago, I said Spider-Man 3. How long was that? About 20 something years ago. Um, it was a midnight showing, and the first showing, I think that Thursday. So I went to go see it, and it was one, the movie was not what I wanted it to be. I'll just leave it at that. And secondly, when I left out the theater, it was storming. Plus, it was about almost 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be at work the next morning, that Friday at 6. And so it was brutal, but I was desperate to go see Spider-Man 3 because Venom was in it and all this here. But that's another story for another day. It was miserable. I couldn't stand being out that late. I know I'm a square. I'm all type of I'm lame and whatever the kids say these days, but I don't care. But that I couldn't do it. I couldn't go to sit at a midnight screening of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, especially after seeing it. I can't because I know all the parts now, and I can just imagine in my head how ruckus the theater would be in certain scenes, and it would drive me insane, especially the musical numbers, the dance numbers, and stuff like that. Yeah, you can miss me with that. But anyways, this became a phenomenon, and it was right off the bat. Going back to 1976, a year after the film was released, it developed a cult following, and it all started in New York, nonetheless, which developed this kind of ritual, to put it kindly. It basically all started at a screening of the film when when patrons in the theater just began yelling at the screen. Just started interacting with the with the movie as if it was choose your own adventure or something. They would the scene where Janet it has the newspaper over her head protecting herself from the rain. You had people or a person yell out that buy an umbrella or stuff like that, and just dumb stuff. They did this to entertain themselves because the movie was so out there. It was so unserious. This is the most unserious movie you would ever watch, and it gets so lame, cheesy, and boring. It's like you have to entertain yourself, and with you entertaining yourself makes the movie more appealing. Spoilers, I kind of dipped into some of my review there. The movie, but that's what it is. It was just making each other laugh, and it was a communal experience, and that part I love, because that's the best part about going to the movies, like going to see a comedy and sitting in the theater with other people who find stuff funny like you will find it funny. You don't have to be embarrassed and hold in your laugh, because you find something funny, and nobody in the theater is chuckling, and it feels good when other people are laughing and you're laughing too. It feels good when there's a feel good moment like in the Avengers and you clap and cheer and everybody else is clapping and cheering too. It's something about that communal experience of being in the theater with fellow moviegoers. It's fun. But it basically started with this. Now I know prior to this, they probably were communal experiences, in certain films. But this is where it really turned into something of a phenomenon. You had moviegoers began to self-proclaim counterpoint dialogue. Like director's commentary, if you will, while watching the movie. It just spread. It started becoming a thing. Then you had performance groups become a staple at these screenings due to the part of this New York City crowd uh, uh, fan casting the movie. And so this performance group would come to the screenings cosplaying as different characters in the movie and performing while the movie is going on. And from there, it took off. From there, it became a phenomenon because other cities began to catch on. So much so that on Halloween of 1976, people attended in costumes talking back to the screen. And by the mid 1978, Rocky Horror was playing in over 50 locations on Fridays and Saturdays at midnight. And so newsletters were published. Yes, newsletters to all the youngsters there. They were published by local performance groups and fans gathering for Rocky Horror conventions. By the end of 1979, there was twice weekly showings at over 230 theaters for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The National Fan Club was established in 1977 and later merged with the International Fan Club. The fan publication, the Transylvanian, printed a number of issues, and semi-regular poster magazines was published as well as an official magazine. Performance groups in the Los Angeles area originated at the Fox Theater in 1977. Now the impact of the LGBT community. Members of that community comprised a large part of the Rocky Horror cult following. They identified with the embrace of sexual liberation, and they attended show after show, slowly forming a community. Judith Parnano compared Brad's and Janet's invitation into Frank-N-Furter's world to the self-discovery of queer identity and to the transitional invitation of virgins in the shadow screenings. The Rocky Horror Picture Show remains a cultural phenomenon in both here in the United States and in the United Kingdom as well. Cult film participants are often people on the fringe of society who found connection and community at these special screenings of this film. Although the film attracts fans that are from different backgrounds all around the world. And that's one of the things that truly impressed me about this movie, even before I saw it, just talking to a friend of mine, that friend that I've told you before, who was going to these screenings, and to my knowledge, he wasn't gay. Yeah, I don't think he's gay. Oh, I don't think he's part of the LGBT. But I could be wrong, and if he is, hey, that's fine too. But I'm just saying, he did make that statement when we were talking. I do remember all this, how so many different backgrounds of people come to these screenings. Because I'm like, at one point, because he kept asking me, and I was like, bruh, you do know I'm black, right? I can't go to this. I don't know any black people that go to these. And he was like, man, you'd be surprised how many black people are there and in costume. And I was like, what? You know, once again, it did pique my curiosity. I just never pulled the trigger. But it's amazing that it, it was able to touch so many people. And that's one of the things that he pitched to me about the film. You know, he was like, man, it speaks to a lot of people. And like I said, I'll go over that when we review it in a couple of seconds here. But it's an amazing feat for a film. You know, let me put it like this: filmmakers all around the world since the beginning of this industry have wanted to make an impact like this movie has made. You know, where it reaches so many people in so many generations, so many different walks of life and backgrounds, and it's rare. It is rare. I don't care what your favorite movie is. It is not going to have the impact like this movie will. And this isn't the greatest movie of all time. By no stretch of the imagination. So, it's cool. It's cool that this film was able to do that. Part of the reason that this film has stayed above board 50 years later, still culturally relevant, is the influences that this film has touched. You know, the Rocky Horror Picture Show has been featured in a number of other feature films and television shows over the year. You had episodes of The Simpsons that that had references to this movie. The Venture Brothers, Cold Case, The Boondocks. Yes, go back and watch it was an episode. I think it was that episode where they were making fun of Tyler Perry. Go back and watch that. Glee, that 70s show, The Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, believe it or not. They spotlight the Rocky Horror Picture Show, as do films such as Vice Squad in 1982, Halloween 2 in 2009, The Perks of Being a Wallflower in 2012. All these movies, including the 1980 film Fame, featured the audience reciting their callback lines to the screen while dancing to the time warp. You know, so this is the dance from the stage show and the film, which has become a novel dance at parties. Rob Zombie, yes, that Rob Zombie, he cites Rocky Horror as a major influence for his film House of a Thousand Corpses. It's from 2003. Yes, that he said it. If it's a lie, he told it. But yeah, that is crazy to me. Just recently, Sabrina Carpenter had a music video for one of her singles, Tears. In the video, she portrays the character of Janet Weiss, who is played by Susan Sarandon in the film, and the character of Dr. Frank-N-Furter was played by Carmen Domingo. Yes, Carmen Domingo played the transvestite in that movie, in that music video, believe it or not. But yeah, man, this has been a mainstay in film, in pop culture, in cultural whatever, everything, for 50 years. And judging by the constant outpouring of love for this film, and still having midnight showings to this day, it looks like it's going to be around for another 50 years. So kudos to this movie that is it has the Guinness World Record for the longest theatrical run in movie history. 50 years. It's been at the theaters for 50 years ever since it was released in 1975. Well, I didn't see it in a theater, and I definitely didn't see it in 1975 due to the fact that I wasn't born. But I did watch it this past weekend for the very first time, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, directed by Jim Sherman, and it stars Tim Curry in his feature film debut, believe it or not, Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick. This film tells the story of a young couple whose car breaks down in the rain near a castle where they search for help. The castle is occupied by strangers in elaborate costumes holding a party. Then they meet the head of the house, Dr. Frank-N-Furter, and a parent, mad scientist, an alien transvestite from the planet transsexual in the galaxy of Transylvania, who creates a living muscle man named Rocky. This movie is the most wacky, far out there film I've ever watched in my life. I felt cheated. I should have blazed up a spliff or smoked the blunt, something, popped the pill, something. I should have got loaded and watched this movie. I feel I would have got a better going movie viewing experience watching this movie, but the reality is this. The reality is it wouldn't have helped. This movie is so bad. It's just the worst, one of the worst films of all time. And that's why I think it's more beloved, because it, number one, is not trying to be a good movie. It's accomplishing exactly what it set out to be. It's unapologetic. It is what it is. You know exactly what type of movie this is. They don't try to cut no corners. They really go all in on the cheesy, the corny, the lame, the controversial, all that. They don't hold anything back. And for that, I absolutely love this movie. I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show. As far as it being a pure classic of a movie, no, it's not a pure classic of a movie. It is cheesy. It is downright cheesy. But it is the right kind of cheese. You know what I'm saying? It's not trying to be serious. It's not. In the moments where it is. The scene in the end, and I mean, the movie's 50 years old. Kill me. I mean, it's I'm going to spoil it. I waited 50 years to watch it, and I'm going to spoil it. But at the end, when Tim Curry's character dies, I was hurt. I was really kind of touched by that. Oh man, I felt so bad for him because I understood his character. Believe it or not, I actually felt sympathy for his character with that song he sung before he was killed off. I was all in, and I guess I was super impressed by the fact that I didn't expect this. I didn't expect such a good story. The story's there. Now the execution was the execution. This let me be 100% fair about this movie. I'm not giving it a bad grade because I think this is a great play. A great play to watch live, and I understood the cult following of this movie because midway through it, I was questioning. I'm like, why is this has such a rabid fan base? I'm like, okay, they sing and dance, but I can name 50 other movies that you have singing and dancing in, and you can have just as much fun. Why this? What about this? But it just had it. I can't explain it. I can't describe it, but it has it. And I truly enjoyed it. One of the main reasons for that is Tim Curry. Tim Curry, we all know him now. You know, he was Pennywise in the miniseries of It. He was Darkness in Legend. Oh my God. That's one of the best portrayals of the devil you ever want to see. The Legend with Tom Cruise, directed by Ridley Scott. Awesome. To this day, that depiction haunts me. Tim Curry has been in so many great films, and he's given so many great performances. He was one of the most underrated, you know, and he's not. He hasn't passed. He hasn't left us yet. Knock on wood. But he did suffer a stroke a few years back, kind of put him on the sidelines. But yeah, man, I just want to give his flowers, bro. He gave a powerful performance as this mad scientist, this transvestite who's an alien, which was another element to this movie I didn't know. You know, that was one of the many joys of watching this over the weekend. I as much as I avoided it for all of these years, I also avoided spoilers. I avoided what this movie was really about. So I went into it blind, which is rare for a movie so old and so popular. I wasn't spoiled, you know. I wasn't spoiled. And that's a shock. But I did not know the alien subplot here. And I got it. You know, I followed all of the themes of this movie, and it's touching. It is very touching. Uh I hope that this movie stays culturally relevant, historically relevant throughout time, you know, because it speaks. It really does speak. But as far as the quality of a film, not granted, it was 1975, but come on. it wasn't it wasn't the greatest of set design. It wasn't great acting here. Susan Sarandon, who, my God, man, Susan Sarandon has been fine for 50 years because she's still fine today, but she was fine back in 1975 and still beautiful and can act her behind off. This is the Academy Award winner, but you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell in this movie. Barry Bostwick as well, you know, but this was all purposely done. The style of acting, the cadence of all of these actors. It was made as if it was a 1930s or 40s B film, you know, like a Ed Wood film. You know, it's is that level of film. But I did enjoy it. I had a good time with it. I loved the music, oddly enough, even though it's not my genre. I was rocking with it. I was having a really good time with this movie. And this is a film that I can see myself watching, uh, you know, at least annually once a year. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those mainstays. And I truly do understand the cult following that this film has. And I understand, pardon me, before I pass away, hopefully no time soon, I will go to one of these midnight screenings. I'm going to take my boy up on his offer, even though I don't know. It's been over 30 years, but I don't know if he still goes or even cares to go. But I may go. I may go just to experience it once in my life. But the experience that I got this past weekend here in the house, the Rocky Horror Picture Show gets a letter grade of a B plus for being a B movie. it is the B's of B's. But yeah, man, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, uh, fun time, fun time. I can only imagine the media. If there was Twitter in 1975, oh my God, would they have blown up about this movie? If they were cancel culture and all that, oh my God, it would have been bananas around that time. I can only imagine how it was when this movie was released. I'm sure it was entertaining, to say the least. But I would love to know, did you grow up watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Did you watch it in the theater? Did you see it at home? Did you ever go to one of those midnight screenings, or do you still go to one of those midnight screenings? I would love to know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for this show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to Movie Goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. We did the time warp again, baby. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.